our lesson for topic for today, that is comparative adjectives, the lesson that we started last time. Before I proceed today's lesson topic, I would like to revise you some pointers that we learned about the previous unit, that was lesson 4, a part of comparative adjective. So, you remember, students, what comparative adjectives are? Comparative adjectives are very important part of the language speech that we usually use in our day-to-day life. Comparatives can be formed in different ways. Some adjectives are formed with one syllabic word, others are more than 2 syllabic words. So, to remind you about what we learned in the previous time, let me give you some pointers about this issue. ER, you remember ER is an also that is more. These are very important comparative forms, so as to use the adjectives by adding ER and more in different approaches. When it comes in the case of that is ER, students, I remember that ER usually a kind of adjectives that do have only one syllabic word. That means we pronounce them with one release of breeze. Well, I'm happy to give you some of the samples that we saw last time. You remember, tall, taller, big, bigger, small, smaller, clever, cleverer, heavy, heavier, etc. When it comes to in the case of that is more, as we discussed last time, those words or adjectives which do have more than 2 syllabic words. So in such a case, we do not add ER in such a case. Again, I'm happy to give you some of the samples that we discussed last time, such as brilliant, more intelligent, more important, more interesting, etc. Don't say that brilliant, don't say that interesting. Rather, you have to add more before them so as to compare 2 people or persons. Thank you so much. That was the lesson that we discussed last time. Another issue that you have to bear in mind about these adjectives or comparative adjectives are always use only to compare 2 people or things are possible. Don't forget that using these adjectives in your day-to-day life. And then today we are going to see the other parts of what? Comparatives. What are they? We can use comparatives with double question words. Let me give you some pointers. Let's look at it. Who is more brilliant? Who is more brilliant? Okay? Becca or Fantu? Look at it, there are 2 people here now. Brilliant is a kind of adjective which is consisted of more than 2 syllabic word. Still now, we are comparing 2 people. Who are they? Becca and Fantu. The same is true. Who is one of the question word or a double question word which stands for referring to a person. That's why I try to give you a sample example here now, Becca and Fantu. Again, let me give you that. What is more pleasant? To live in the city or to live in the country? Look now. These are the 2. Well, what is more pleasant? Where is the place that is suitable to you to live in? A city or a country? It's not only that. Okay? Again, let's go and see. What is higher mountain? Let's say, is that Russian or Batu? Batu Mountain. So there are two kinds of mountains here now. So higher, here, there. Still now there are two in number. And then when it comes to here now, another case of comparatives, let's see. These are very important comparisons. What do you know about this? As comparison. How do you compare people using this structure? As is also possible in the case of not as. How do we use these two forms? I would like to give you some sample examples here now. Let's go and talk about age, height, okay, and also weight, age, height, weight. Body, Bagala, and Tola. Maybe Bati is 13 years old. Bagala is again 13 years old. Tola is 14 years old. When it comes in the case of that is height, Bati is 1 meter 50 centimeter tall. Bagala is 1 meter 45 centimeter tall. Again, Tola is 1 meter 50 centimeter tall. Don't forget that the word age stands for referring to that is age. How old they are? 13. Bagala is 13 years old. Tola is 13 years old. Height stands for where they're what? Tall. This tall stands for referring to what? Height. They are all nouns, whereas the rest of the others are tall is similar with that is height. It's referring to only the what? The tallness of that student. So let's go again. Weight. Bati is 48 kilogram. Again here now 48 kilogram. Here now 51 kilogram. Now let's go and compare this table of the students according to their age, height, weight. Still now we are going to use this structure as us and not as us. If peoples are or if students are equal in their age, use as structure. When they are not equal in their age, use not as structure. The same is true in all the cases. Let's go and compare these three students based on their age, height, and weight. Okay, who do you think is similar in their age? Of course. Who are they? Definitely. They are Bati and Bagala. They are the same in age. Therefore, what do you say here now? Bati, when it comes in the sentence, is as old as Bagala. That means they are both the same age. They are both 13 years old. 13 years old. The same is true. Bagala and Bati are similar in age. It's another construction, another way of saying something, similar age. That means they are still the same. Bati is as old as Bakala. Bakala and Bati are similar in age, means they are both the same in age. Let's go and see the weight of those students. Again, Bakala is not as old as Kasu. That means Bakala is not as old as Kasu, means Bakala has age that is 13, whereas Kasu is that is 14. They are different. So Bakala is not as old as Kasu. Again, let's go and see their what? In the form of their height. Bakala is taller than Kasu. But Bakala is not as tall as Tasfu. Look now, Bakala is not as tall as Tasfu. Bakala is taller than Kasu. Bakala is not is taller than Kasu, mean that is Bakala is just height and his what? Tallness. He is taller than Kasu, whereas Bakala is not as tall as Tasfu, means who is taller. Bakala is not as tall as Tasfu, means Tasfu is taller than Bakala. So don't forget that the way how we are just interacting with the comparative forms that we learned last time, here that is ER, whereas in the case of as structure, we can use in such a way. If those two peoples or students who are in the same age, in the same height, in the same age, don't forget that using these two structures. When things or peoples are similar in their forms, similar in their what? In their physical, maybe. That's why I gave a sample example so as to describe their physical. Yeah, physically, their height, weight, that is also another that is age based on that. We're trying to talk about those students, those peoples who are similar in different contexts. Therefore, when they are similar, don't forget that using the same structure. In such a case of what? As a structure, be careful, don't say that as taller as. No, this is wrong structure. That's why, because they are equal in their physical appearance, in the age, in the weight, whatever the case it is. Yeah, the same is true. This kind of structure is not only common for us to talk or describe about the physical of certain people who are two in number, but also if you want to talk about any kind of situation, any kind of events, any kind of just phenomenon, you are welcome to compare two people with this structure that is as a structure. The other thing that you have to bear in mind is that, please, when peoples are different in their structure, in their physical, right, fitness, in their manner, okay, in their the performance of academy, okay, in their physical fitness, etc. So if they are not equal, don't forget that N out is possible. That means not as. The same is true that we have done so far in such a case, in the case. Bakala is not as tall as Tasfu. It seems like this. That means this as a structure can be replaced by such a case too. So as, but don't forget that. One difference between as a structure and so a structure. Let me tell you about these two structures. All right. Another thing that you have to bear in mind that I would like to tell you about the difference between the two structures. What are they? These structures, don't forget that. as is possible in the case of positive sentence. Don't forget this one. Positive comparison. Now the word is positive comparison. Comparison. Yeah? So when it comes to in the case of that is not as structure is also possible. Not as. So in such a case, still now, the comparison that is negative, but there is an OT here now. That's why, because what makes it positive comparison is that just we talk about only one person or that person, on a specific person. That's why so as to tell about the similarity of those two people, since they are similar in their age, similar in their height, similar in their weight, and similar in every situation. But don't forget, students, not only so as to compare people only in such issues, but also you are welcome to talk about any events. For example, our school is beautiful as their school. Possible. That's why we are describing our school based on its width. Okay? Based on what? The classrooms. Our classroom is clearer than their classroom. The same is true. Our classroom as their classroom is as clean as their classroom. That means it is similar. Okay, all classrooms are neat, in other words. That's it. But in the case of not or not as a structure, it's negative. Oh, come on, why don't you make it your classroom be neat? Come on. Okay, oh, your classroom is so neat. Yeah, ours is too. Let's go and see it. My goodness, your classroom is so nice. Yeah, I saw it. It's so nice. It's beautifully cleaned. So what do you say? My God, yeah, last time I went to their classroom and then their classroom is as neat as our classroom. You see now, you are welcome to talk about your classroom situation too in such a case with as a structure. If it is not good in a good situation, not as is possible. Let's go and see another structure of what? Not so as. Not so as. In the case of not so as, don't say so as structure. We don't have such kind of structure, please. So as structure. No, students, don't use in such a way. Yeah, you have to use what? NOT before it. But in the case of as structure, we can use in both cases. But in the case of so as structure, still now NOT has to be available there. But don't use it just like as a structure, so as structure, don't say. We can't say. That's why, because the language of the structure doesn't allow you to do this. But in such a case, not as a structure and not so as structure are both the same. They are equally used in the sentence. With no difficulties, with no difference, you are welcome to use not as and not so as structure. Please don't forget this one. Let me give you some sample example that we have done so far. It's okay? Bakala is not so old as, as tasteful, etc. So, not so as structure can be replaced by as a structure in order to just compare only the same things, similar things. But that similarity in some extent is, if that's negative, it can also be possible in such a case. Yeah, that's why we are comparing those two people. Two peoples are possible there. Whatever the case it is, one stands for a positive, the other stands for a negative. So in the case of that is as a structure stands for positive, not as a structure stands for a negative. But in such a case, and so not so as structure only stands for that is negative in order to compare two people. So comparison it's a very important part of the language structure that we have to use in our day-to-day life. At the same time, comparisons are just used in different approach. that we have discussed so far, and then based on the structure that we are going to see now. So the ER are very important, the more is very important. But in the case of as a structure, be careful, students, the adjective always takes only one syllabic word. It can be in a positive form, otherwise without more and without ER in the other forms. The same is true as brilliant as possible. Yeah. As brilliant. As brilliant as. You see? Brilliant is possible in the case of this structure. Yeah. Don't add more brilliant. No, don't say. Don't say more brilliant. That's why, because the structure doesn't allow you to use more structure that comes just before the word brilliant. It does not preceded by this word. So don't forget that. The same is true, okay? This is also possible. Not as. Not as brilliant. See? Not as brilliant as. So these are the possible. As clever as. Possible. Look now, this is one syllabic word. Again, not as clever as. The same, but they are no different. See, in structure they are both same, whereas in some cases they are different. What makes them different? We have already discussed last time in the previous issue. Brilliant, more brilliant, clever, say that's clever, 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 etc. But in such a case, as and just form structures, don't use that as ER. It doesn't take. You have to use it as a positive form. The same is true. Not so as is also possible. Not so brilliant as. You see? Not so brilliant as and not as brilliant as are both the same. Structurally, they are the same without any change of meaning. Hopefully that. Okay, thanks so much. I think it's everything that's clear now. Next to this, I would like to give you some activities that you are going to practice now. These are the comparison words. Make sentences with the form of comparison using the table below. Use sentences with as, not as, and not so as. Let me give you this table, it's all right? The table is here now. Age, height, weight. I'm going to write some student's name here now. Tesru, Tola, and Bagala. Let's go and take this information so as to use those students who are same in age, the same in height, the same in weight. If they are the same in all contexts, use as a structure. Whereas if they are different in their age or height or weight, by looking at the student's age, height, and weight, you are welcome to use not as structure. The same is true in the case of not so as structure. Is similar with as a structure. Next to this, I'm going to write their age. 15, 15, 16. Let's go. 1 meter, 48 centimeter. Tola, 1 meter, 46 centimeter tall. Again, 1 meter, 46 cm. Let's go and weight. Testful. He is 56 kilogram. Again, Tola is 60 kilogram. And then Bakala is 56 kilogram. Let's go and see this information so as to make a sentence. I would like to give you some time so as to do the activity. Takes 3 minutes. Good. You are welcome to discuss with your friends. Look at their number, the age. This age stands for what? Old. Yeah, that's why we have to change this age into what? Adjective form. And then height stands for what? That is tall. You see? Unless you are changing these noun forms into adjectives, you can't use this structure. The same is true. Weight, it stands for what? It's heavy. Heavy weight. I would like to give you one sample example, and then you are going to finish by yourself. Let's go. Who are similar in their age? Who are they? Thank you very much. Exactly. Tasfu and Tola are similar in their age. Therefore, I'm going to give you one sample example for it. Tasfu is as old as whom? Tola. Tasfu is as old as Tola. Of course, look at them. They are 15 years old, 15 years old. Tasfu is as old as Tola. Means they are similar in age. In other words, they are similar in age. Hopefully, you are going to finish the rest of the other activities in such a ways. All right, students. Now, these are the information that's given on the table. Based on the information that you have got, you are welcome to make your own sentences. So, in order to practice this activity with your friends and to share your experience with your friends and ask anyone else, I'm going to give you one sample example here now. Right? Let's go and see some of the students or who are similar in their what? In their tall. It's okay? So let's go. Tasfu is as tall as whom? You are welcome, Bakala. You see? Exactly. See? Tasfu is 1 meter 48 centimeters tall, whereas Bakala is also 1 meter 46 centimeters tall. So I hope you'll practice and do it at home with your friends and ask anyone else. Thank you so much. So that is all for today. Till we meet next time. See you. Goodbye, students. Goodbye.
Welcome to Crafts for Kids.